we have seen it shift a little bit to the west. There was actually a little bit more of a dramatic shift in the models, and I thought maybe the Hurricane Center would either leave it the same or maybe a slight adjustment to the west. And it may be because the center is trying to reorganize in a more hospitable environment, and that could be a little bit more to the west of where it is right now. So if that is the case, and maybe it's a trend that we would see this further and further west. And again, we don't wish this on anyone, but it certainly put our area outside of some of those strongest winds and some of the higher storm surge. Rainfall seems almost secondary with the impacts from the coastal flooding and the potential for some damaging winds. Secondary is going to be rain, and the reason for that is it's making landfall tomorrow, or excuse me, Wednesday afternoon. So in less than 48 hours, it'll already be inland and moving very quickly up toward the north and immediately taking away the rainfall by late Wednesday and on into Thursday. So here's the model guidance, and that's what I said. We saw kind of a fairly dramatic shift off to the west of the models. Hurricane Center wasn't quite as dramatic, but you'll see that this black line is their official forecast, and it does kind of fall within the average of most of the models. So they did indicate a little bit more of a shift in their forecast. Notice though, the forecasted cone, the models are more on the western envelope of that cone. So if this were to be the case again before the 10 o'clock new advisory forecast later tonight, if this is a trend, maybe we'll see the forecast cone shift even more. That again for us would be great. Here's what's happening right now. We do have kind of a weak upper trough that'll start helping to draw the storm northward. We also have a big ridge of high pressure down across the southeastern Gulf. That is what is helping to kind of push the storm along, and it will actually help to make it move a little bit faster. Note what we have over the Gulf Coast, dry air, and also note how fast these winds are moving. This is wind shear. As it moves into a less hospitable environment, before landfall, we could even see some weakening of the storm. These landfalls and the subtleties with trying to forecast the intensity are very, very tricky, and sometimes the models don't handle it very well. You'll also note very dry air. Now, what we do have in the upper atmosphere is that good exhaust. It has somewhere for the storms as they grow near the center to then expand into the atmosphere. So it has the ability to continue to intensify, but wind shear and dry air may be doing a number on the storm in the near term and certainly before landfall, because as we go into early Wednesday morning, note the increasing wind shear. That would help to weaken the storm if it isn't already a fairly well-established storm. If it is a healthy Category 2, it's able to concentrate a lot of moisture, kind of close itself off from the drier air, it may be able to, if nothing else, maintain its strength. It doesn't look like it's going to be an intensifying storm right up to the point of landfall, because as I said, you've got the wind shear and you also have some dry air that will start really impacting the storm. It's going to be impacting the storm through the night tonight, but into tomorrow and into Wednesday. And right up to the point of landfall, that dry air starts almost wrapping around, kind of closing off its source of any of that moisture. So it doesn't look like it's going to be moving into a hospitable environment. Something I really do want to stress is that while we haven't had a threat since Ida, this is not an Ida. This is not a Laura. Ida, we could kind of see the path toward Louisiana was perfect for it to continue to intensify. This storm does not have that perfect track to intensify right up to the point of landfall. So yes, most of the models are indicating a 2, and they have been doing that since even this morning. So this wasn't a big surprise to see the Hurricane Center increase the strength at landfall. Well, what does that mean for us? Well, doesn't really change a whole lot. We start to see those increasing winds through the morning and midday on Wednesday. Strongest of the hurricane force winds are nowhere near us. We get into the tropical storm force winds sustained and gusting probably over 50 to 60 miles an hour, certainly. That again has not really changed. And as I said, this doesn't really appear to be as much of a rain event, flooding, inland flooding from rainfall, as much as it would be the wind and damaging wind. We know it doesn't take much, and also the coastal flooding. We'll talk about the coastal flooding in a second. A breezy day expected for our Tuesday. Stronger winds, though, as we head into Wednesday. And this is just one model. This is the GFS, but indicating sustained winds of 30 plus miles an hour, I would say, and gusting 50 to maybe 60 miles an hour. Those kind of wind gusts would certainly do some damage. As far as the rainfall totals go, 3 to 4 to maybe 5 inches of rainfall widespread. And I don't think a lot of us are even going to see those numbers verified. I think those totals are going to be a whole lot less. Something we'll have to watch for, especially from, say, Port Fourchon west, will be the coastal flooding. These are the areas that we are expecting. Terrebonne out towards St. Mary, 6 maybe plus inches, or excuse me, feet of storm surge. In most of southeast Louisiana's waterways, we're expecting 1 to 3 inches. And keep in mind that water will be piling into Lake Pontchartrain, so it'll flood out in New Orleans east, outside of the hurricane risk reduction system, on the North Shore, parts of Tangipahoa Parish, St. John, and then into the river parishes. So that is where I think we're going to see more of the impacts from the storm will be the coastal flooding and those stronger winds. At the moment, we've got a few showers around us, nothing particularly heavy at all, but those rain chances will be picking up as we continue throughout the day tomorrow. A little bit more intense with those stronger winds and the coastal flooding threat at their greatest on Wednesday. But this is a fast-moving storm, so we'll already see improving conditions as we continue on throughout the night Wednesday, but definitely as we head into the day on Thursday. And then the rest of the week and going into next week, no other tropical threats that we're watching at this time. So to kind of reiterate what I've just mentioned with the new information from the Hurricane Center, the forecasted track has adjusted a little bit more to the west. They do have it making landfall sometime midday on Wednesday as a Category 2. With winds of 100 miles an hour. We weren't too far off of that kind of lower envelope of a Category 2. We were already expecting a strong Cat 1, and we always say prepare for stronger. So at this point, if I'm in central, southwestern Louisiana, I'm preparing for the possibility of a 3. At the moment, that's not looking very likely, but certainly a possibility, but definitely a strong hurricane making landfall along the southwest, south central Louisiana coast. Impacts to us, the primary threats would be the gusty winds, and that's pretty much going to be all on Wednesday, and the coastal flooding. Inland flooding from rainfall, I don't believe is going to be as much of an issue. Something else we really haven't talked much about, and we'll have more as that storm gets a little bit closer, is that we are going to be on the northeastern quadrant, so the rougher side of the storm, and we also may be watching for the threat of tornadoes. That obviously is going to be a bit closer to the center of the storm, but we could see parts of southeast Louisiana at some point on Wednesday placed under a tornado watch.
All right, so still a lot to watch out for, Chris.
Yes.
We know you're going to keep tabs on it and check in with us and as we move throughout the evening tonight, tomorrow, and of course, we'll take you through the storm as it makes its way into Louisiana's coast on Wednesday. We want to go back to regular programming right now, but we will be back with you at 4:30. Governor Landry is expected to make a press conference about his preparations for tracking Hurricane potentially Francine at 4:30. So just in a few minutes. So we'll be right back with you, but for now, we'll head back to regular programming.